The air of Hive-Creston Prime choked with the acrid scent of ozone and burning promethium. Below, in the ravaged underlevels of Sector Gamma, Guardsman Kale leaned heavily against a collapsed barricade of shattered ferrocrete. His left arm ended just below the elbow, a hastily cauterized stump wrapped in blood-soaked field dressings. The loss was not new, a trophy from the initial orbital assault, but the phantom ache persisted, a constant, gnawing reminder of the battle's grim toll. Above him, the incessant thrum of the bioships in high orbit resonated through the very bones of the Hive City, a dreadful, ceaseless song of consumption. He was alone. The last of his squad had fallen hours ago, consumed by the relentless tide of chitin and claw that flowed through the Hive's arteries. Cal had seen the last Chimera pull out, its back ramp barely closing on a handful of screaming civilians, a few wounded guardsmen, and a commissar whose face was a mask of grim defeat. He had stayed, a silent agreement made with the dead. He had found a choke point, a narrow access shaft leading to the lower hydro junctions, the last bastion before the Tyranids could poison the Hive's deepest water reserves. His laser gun felt heavy in his remaining hand, its power pack almost depleted. He checked the clip of his auto pistol. A scant 5 rounds remained. The combat knife, scarred and chipped, was secured to his chest rig. Not much, he thought, but enough. He remembered Sergeant Rorick's last words, screamed over the Vox before a Genistealer tore him apart. "Hold the line, Guardsman, for the Emperor." Kyle would. From the depths of the shaft, a new sound began to grow, a wet, clicking scuttling that vibrated through the very deck plates. Then came the stench, the sickly sweet aroma of the Tyranid swarm, a biological horror that turned the stomach. He saw them first as glinting eyes in the gloom, then the segmented carapaces, the eager, rending claws. Hormagaunts, a tide of them, their chitin clattering like 1,000 falling stones. Behind them, larger forms lumbered, their shadows monstrous against the flickering emergency lights that still stubbornly clung to life. "Let them come," he rasped, his voice raw from the dust and terror. "There's still a fight in this old dog." He braced his laser gun against the barricade, adjusting his grip, compensating for the missing arm. His first volley was precise, a crimson bolt of energy blowing apart the lead Hormagaun's head, showering its kin in acidic ichor. He fired again, and again, picking off the closest Xenos, each shot a defiant roar against the encroaching darkness. They were too many, though. The swarm piled over their dead, a living wave of claws and fangs. A Hormagaunt leaped, clearing the barricade in a blur of motion. Cal pivoted, his remaining hand moving with a speed born of desperation. He brought the laser gun's stock up, smashing it into the creature's head, knocking it back. Then with a roar, he dropped the near-empty laser gun and drew his auto pistol. The 5 rounds barked, each finding a target, sending the Xenos reeling. But his clip was empty. They were upon him, a tide of chitin and muscle. He snatched his combat knife, its dulled edge glinting in the pale light. He slashed, parried, and plunged the blade into sinews and joints that gave way with sickening wetness. He felt a searing pain as claws raked across his chest, tearing through his flak armor. Another set of claws found his legs and he stumbled, falling backwards over the barricade. Kyle hit the ground hard, his head ringing. The Hormagaunts surged over him, a living, biting blanket. He saw their lamprey-like mouths, their glistening fangs. With a final, desperate surge of strength, he reached for the grenade pouch on his belt. His one arm fumbled. The pin felt impossibly stiff, his fingers slick with his own blood and that of his enemies. He screamed, a primal sound of defiance and rage, as he finally tore the pin free. "For the Emperor," he yelled, his voice swallowed by the ravenous chittering of the swarm. He jammed the grenade against his chest, clutching it tight, and with a last defiant thought of his Hive City, he triggered the primer. The flash and concussive roar that followed tore through the narrow shaft, briefly silencing the Tyranid tide. When the smoke cleared, there was only a crater in the ferrocrete, and silence where a single guardsman had made his final, unyielding stand. The hydro junctions were safe for now. And somewhere amongst the endless stars, the Emperor knew of his sacrifice.